Hi, everybody. This is just another check-in video. We'll talk about some things you need to know for math class today. In the meantime, we have some substitute teachers that wanted to say hi to you. Can you say hi? Hi. This is Sunny, and this is Rosie. Can you say hi? They're learning lots of stuff. Learning lots of stuff, and they hope you are too. You need the special glasses. There we go. Our Stunna shades. So hopefully you guys are getting outside and playing with your toys just like these guys. And stay tuned for some important reminders for the week. Okay, so all right, guys, we're going to go over the worksheet that you worked on our first day of math with our virtual learning. So as soon as I can get that doc up here on the screen. Okay, so just to go over some of the vocabulary from the top, we remember our words variable, constant, coefficient. Constant and coefficient are probably the ones that are easiest to mix up. They sound the most similar. But we remember a variable stands for something. It takes the place of something. It's kind of like a question mark. A constant is a number with no variable attached. So just a plain old number, +4, -7, something like that. The coefficient is the number that goes in front of a variable term that tells us how many of the variable there are. And we know our big thing from this year was when a coefficient's next to a variable, they're right next to each other in math, that means to multiply. So that we know that there's multiplication in between the coefficient and the variable. The last vocab word you had here was algebraic expression. And the big thing is knowing the difference between an expression and an equation. So an expression does not have an equal sign. It's kind of like a phrase, whereas an equation would be like a full sentence with punctuation because it has that equal sign in there. So an expression is made up of numbers, operations, and variables, and we put those together in terms, which we'll talk about in a minute. Okay, so just some notes that I kind of made while I looked through our worksheet. Some of the things that were the most tricky were the negative signs. We didn't get too into that this year, so I'm okay with some flexibility there. We'll talk about it question by question. If a variable shows up more than once, you only have to list it once. You don't have to say, for example, x, comma, x, comma, x. You can just say the variable in the problem is x. And like I said, mixing up some constants and coefficients. So let's take a look at the actual questions you worked on, and you guys were able to type those right into the table. I do make some notes to you, so some of you guys, I might add a private comment at certain places in the table or off to the side of your work. It should send you an email to your school email if I do make a private comment. So if you see that, definitely click on it for the feedback. If I did not give you a private comment, that doesn't mean anything. You'll pick up what we're talking about either through this review or we'll follow up down the road. So anyway, for the first question, 3x plus 4, our coefficient is 3. The variable is x. Our constant is a 4. Really, it's a +4, but we don't have to put the plus sign. Number of terms, 2, and they are 3x and 4. Once in a while, I would see people list the 3, the x, and the 4 as separate terms, but the 3 and the x go together and they count as one term. So 2 terms, one of them's 3x and one of them is 4. Okay, so next question, number 6, 3y minus 12m. In this case, we have 2 variables. So if we have 2 variables right here, let me see if I can highlight here. So if we have 2 variables, y and m, then that means we also have to have 2 coefficients. So for every variable, there's a coefficient, and that'll be important in the next question. So our 2 variables, y and m, our coefficients in front of them are 3 and 12. Actually, it is, I don't have my glasses on here, minus 12. 3 and minus 12. And that's what we were talking about with the negative signs. That negative sign goes with the 12m. It's not, it can be looked at as a minus sign or as a negative sign. So when we list that coefficient, we want to borrow the subtraction sign and call it a negative 12. So technically the coefficient's a minus 12. There are no constants. There's no numbers just by themselves. 2 terms, they are 3y and minus 12m. Okay, number 7. So it almost helps to find this column, the second column, variables first, and then go back to coefficients for the reasons I just said. So if there's two variables, they're easy to pick out. They're the two letters, so f and x. And then we know we have to list two coefficients. And so most of us put down 2. We just talked about we want to make that -2 because it is borrowing the subtraction sign, so it's technically a -2f. It's a -2 in front of the f. A lot of us miss that there's a coefficient in front of the x because there's no number written there. It didn't jump out to us to label a coefficient that didn't seem to be there. But we remember from our year that if there is no number there, that means there's one of something. So plain old x is really 1x, or minus x is really minus 1x. So the coefficient for that variable, because there has to be one, is a -1. Our constants, 14, 3 terms total, 14, -2f, and -x, okay? All right, number 8. So again, we start with the variable. We only have to list it one time, but the variable is x. There are multiple x's in the problem, and that's where we get into like terms. So our xylophone problems down the road, we could simplify this expression by saying 6 xylophones minus 4 xylophones minus 2 more xylophones, blah, blah. We'll get to that in a little bit. So our coefficients, the 6, the -4, and the -2. Actually, this should say -2 right here. Okay, our constants, we have 12, and number of terms, 6x, 12, -4x, and -2x. Okay, oh, is that a plus sign? Oh, that is. Wow, guys, I need to find my glasses. So that is a +2, so that's a +2 coefficient. Okay, and the last one, number 9, 12k -3, is that a plus sign? Plus 22a. So our variable is k and a, 12 in front of the k, plus 22, so 12 and 22 are our coefficients. -3 is the constant because that has that minus sign in front of it, so a -3 for the constant. 3 terms altogether, and they are 12k -3 and plus 22a. So that takes us through those questions that you answered. Take a look at your work. Use this answer key to kind of hold it next to your work. Now that I'm returning it to you on Google Classroom, you'll be able to see what you submitted to me. The only other reminders is that when you're done on the doc for the day, which most of these assignments are going to be posted in a doc, you have to make sure that you submit it back to me in Google Classroom. Some of us were finishing it and then forgetting to hit turn it in. So when you're finished and everything's filled in, and like I said, just do your best. Make sure you hit the blue button that says turn it in up top. That makes it so that I can see your answers a little bit easier and give you some feedback. So make sure we turn it in, look for those private comments, and then feel free to ask for help. I'm definitely here during the day. Shoot me an email and we can pursue what we need to kind of get you on track. So you'll be looking on Google Classroom for this will be Friday's assignment. It'll be a Google Doc similar to this one. You'll do your work in the doc and then hit submit. And that will take us through our second day of virtual learning. So I think we're all getting the hang of it. We will get there. The most important part is that you guys take care of you, make some time for your schoolwork, but also make time to get outside, have some fun, sleep late, do your Insta chat or your Snapgram or whatever it is that they call it these days, but not too much. Get outside, read a book, do things like that instead. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I look forward to seeing what you guys do.